What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Stand Up to Sitting podcast. I am your host and Chief Energy Officer, Jeremy Abramson. And guys, I am super pumped up because we are launching our Women in Wellness series. And I feel very fortunate to introduce you Maria Toscano. And Maria is a movement enthusiast who's a leader in the South Florida health and wellness community. She's on a mission to inspire others through movement, nature, and gratitude. And Maria, did I miss anything?
Not at all.
I didn't miss anything.
No.
We're all good?
Yes.
So I want to start off just giving a little backstory to how I first connected with you.
Yes.
So I would be going to these events, Daybreaker and, you know, acro yoga jams, and I would always see this girl like off to the side in her own world.
Yes, that's me.
Hula hoops, like other crazy cool shit. And I'm like, damn. I was honestly a little intimidated at first. I was like, she is so dope. Like, all right, I need to connect with this woman. And I'm super stoked to have you here.
Oh, thank you. I'm super honored to be here. Same thing goes for you. I remember seeing you around, movement guy with the primal movement, that Budokan style stuff.
Hell yeah.
And I'm always down to connect. It's funny because a lot of people say the same thing, that I kind of intimidate them. And I don't know why. I guess my energy is kind of loud. But it's actually funny that you say that, because I'm one of those people that will kind of be off to the side doing my own thing. I remember before I started going to the acro jams, they would always be like, come. And I'd be like, I'm okay over here.
Really?
Yeah. It's just because
what changed? What was the light bulb that went off and you're like, you know what? I'm going to go this time.
I don't know. I guess I connected with someone like off the scenes,
right,
like one-on-one, and then they invited me to come and hang out with everybody. I get kind of overwhelmed. That's why, like, in those things. But I definitely like broke out of that shell, because I kind of saw it as like, I don't know, I kind of thought people were going to judge me or something, you know, because that's like, I feel a lot of people feel that way. And I invite people to come to Acro Jam and they're like, oh, I don't know, like, I don't want to go alone. So I understand them, but I definitely just kind of pushed through. I went one time and it was amazing. It was just, it was almost silly of me to think that, like, you know, someone was going to judge me or something. So,
well, I think we all fear judgment.
Definitely.
Because it's just the way we're wired. We want to get that approval. We want that validation from others. I think it starts at a young age.
Yes.
Like when we're kids, whether it's approval from our parents or our friends in school. So I think that carries over and manifests like into our adult life, and we're not even necessarily conscious of it.
Definitely.
But you said something interesting. You said that you talking about like how you were resistant to go at first.
Yes.
And just, I'm wondering for the people that say they're introverts and going to events and community things and just meeting people that they're not necessarily familiar with is intimidating. What is something that you would maybe tell them to get them over that hump and out of their head and really get them to connect with people?
So for the introverts or people who feel shy to go into a setting like that, I would say that you kind of have to make yourself uncomfortable to get comfortable.
Love it.
Yeah. So you're going to find the best experiences when you leave your comfort zone. And that's something I really have been trying to share with people, because I've been doing that. And I've been doing new things that are out of my comfort zone, because all the things that I do now, I'm very good at. I've been doing it for so long. So
I see that.
I'm comfortable doing things like handstands and hula hooping, and like to everyone else, it's like, wow, she's so good. But people don't see all of the time that I put to get there. So I think it's the same with putting yourself out there and going to events and stuff. It's like people don't see when I was shy, or when I felt like people were going to judge me, or I didn't feel like I was going to fit in.
Right.
But it's kind of like you have to do the work and push yourself a little bit outside your comfort zone. Like no one's going to do it for you. I mean, I think that going with a friend is an amazing tool, like going with someone that you trust, that'll help you feel comfortable. But I also don't think you should rely on anyone else to go do the things you want to do, because if you wait on someone else, you might never do it. And I think a lot of people like message me and they're like, hey, like I really want to go do this and I want to try that, but I have no one to go with. And that excuse to me is just that, an excuse. And it's like, I know you might be a little bit afraid or intimidated, but I think people need to have more like trust within themselves, like trust that what you bring to everyone around you is enough and you don't need anyone else to help you get there.
Yeah. And it's so talking about the getting comfortable with being uncomfortable theme.
Yes.
It's obviously something I'm huge on. You know, I'm big on ice baths.
Oh my God.
Yeah, ice baths. You need to come over for one before you leave for your trip.
Yeah.
But constantly putting ourselves in challenging situations, because for me, like a situation going into the ice bath, yes, it's great for the body. It gets rid of inflammation. It's beneficial for my mitochondria and my overall longevity. But for me, I transfer that discomfort and that overcoming of fear mindset to every area of my life. Yes. Whether it's like approaching you, hey, Maria, will you be on my podcast? Or just doing something that I might not be accustomed to doing. I've already kind of programmed myself to do these things that I don't necessarily want to do. Yes. So my question for you is like, what is the thing most recently that comes to mind that you just really stepped out of your comfort zone and you took a leap of faith?
So, I mean, honestly, so like I was telling you, I took these dance classes this last week. Right. And like I have a background in movement, obviously, and dancing, but nothing, you know, concrete or professional. And I went, and I remember when I got to the first class, I felt like, oh my God, like I ain't shit, you know, like I'm nobody here. And I was kind of like, my mood was kind of weird when I got there. And, it was definitely out of my comfort zone. I just feel like whenever I try new things that I'm not really used to or that I know about, I kind of like freak out a little bit because I'm so used to doing the things that I'm good at or that I know how to do. Yes. And that was definitely something that put me out of my comfort zone. But at the end of the class, I felt amazing. And it was so cool to see how I, like the way I felt changed, like just without even noticing, I just kind of like didn't give up. Like, it's just all about not giving up. And even if you don't love it or you didn't do great, you still gain so much so you don't even really see right away. Yeah. You get what I mean? Just like you were saying. So, like my yoga practice. When I'm practicing, I practice a lot of patience with myself when I'm doing poses that I can't get, or it's a day that I'm not doing well upside down. And all of that patience that I practice on the mat translates to everything else in life, like everything else. And you don't really notice it at first, but it's something that you don't really see until like a bunch of time passes, you know? It's not immediate results. It's something that's progressive, and it's just it's amazing.
I love that. And I feel like people, as they get older, like when we're kids and we have this childlike mindset and mentality, like we don't give a fuck what anyone thinks. We're in the playground, we're on the swings, we're rolling around.
Yes.
We're just living life in the present moment. And as we get older and judgment comes into play and our career comes into play, we're so resistant at trying new things because there is that gap where we're going to be shitty at it. We're going to be the worst. And I was actually was in the process of taking salsa and bachata classes, like the only gringo in there. And for me, like I found myself like judging myself in the class. And I had to like snap out of it and just be like, dude, like smile, have fun.
Exactly.
Like this is like
everything's for fun.
Yeah, you're exploring something new. And when you mentioned patience, scrolling through your Instagram feed, which everyone will definitely be aware of and check out after this, you said something that resonated with me. Time and patience are ultimate teachers. Can you dive a little deeper into exactly what experiences led you up to those belief systems?
Yes. So patience and time are funny because you think about the concepts and they don't really show you the results until a bunch of time has passed. So you could be telling yourself, oh, I need to be patient. Oh, I need to be patient. And a day will pass, a week will pass. And you want to give up on this patience. You want to give up on time because you feel like in the moment it's never going to get there. Like time is never going to pass, or it's never going to be to a point where your patience has paid off. But that's the whole point of being patient. It's like you kind of have to let it happen and you have to trust. I think patience is a lot about trusting where you are in the moment and knowing that you're going to progress as long as you continue to remind yourself to be patient. And I think people really just have to keep reminding themselves, like keep refreshing their memory on these things that we hear once, like time and patience being the ultimate teachers, or being super important in your journey, whether it be like your fitness journey or your wellness journey. Like if you want to start eating better, you're probably going to have a really good week and then have a really bad week. And it's like, just because you had a bad week doesn't mean you failed. It just means that you need to be more patient with yourself and like pick up the good habits from the week before, and then like really realize like where you lacked, but continue to not focus on it, just like improve.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Not be so hard on yourself.
Exactly.
That's one of the biggest things I see coaching people. It's really having to educate them. Like this is a long-term vision. Like you didn't get pre-diabetic or obese overnight. Like this manifested over 5, 10, 15 years of bad habits. Mm-hmm. So it's going to really take a holistic approach at getting you back on track. And like you said, if you fall back like a couple bad days, that's when people usually just fall off the track, and they're like, oh fuck, I'm worthless, I'm not worthy of this, I'm not capable of doing it. And then all of these self-limiting beliefs pop in, and then it's like, oh shit. So I think what you mentioned, like just being conscious, like, okay, I had a couple bad days, I got to be better. Mm-hmm. Building that self-awareness and not necessarily just kicking yourself for it. Because when you start, people are so hard on themselves. Like I know for me, I'm my harshest critic.
I think everybody is their own harshest critic. Like at the end of the day, I'm sure people will tell you like, damn, Maria, you're crushing it. Like you're doing such cool shit. Like, oh my God. And that's stuff I hear all the time. And I'm like, really? I am? Like, because I'm just like so locked in on what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. I don't really have this macro vision, I guess. It's more just like a day to day, like I'm grinding. I'm trying to be the best version of myself that day. Yes.
But what you mentioned about kind of falling off track or having a couple bad days or bad week, I know you recently had a little health setback. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to ask you, what is like the biggest lesson you learned from that? And what is a piece of advice that you could give to people who are maybe experiencing a health setback, or they're just really struggling to get started? So the first question, what did you learn from that setback?
So, health scare has been one of the hardest things I've had to digest. Honestly, I was thinking about it today and I was like, my life has been I've been blessed. I've obviously had things here and there, but I've never went through something like so intense where I feel like it's hitting me to this moment, to this day. And I think the biggest lesson it's taught me is to really be grateful for my health, like aside from what is going on. People really take for granted the ability to move, to just like wake up and not feel pain, or just to like be able to eat, have an appetite, just these little things that we're just used to. That is just like really a blessing, because one day you could wake up and one of these things that you're so used to could be like gone or just like hindered,
So true.
And it's been a wake-up call for me just to like really tap into my gratitude even more. I'm already so big on gratitude and like just like always counting your blessings and being positive and seeing like the light in a situation. And it has taught me so much about seeing the silver lining and just like pulling in any way I can what this is going to teach me and how it's going to make me stronger. And it's crazy because when it first happened, I was like super bummed out and just like really sad and just like, why is this happening? Like, why is this happening? Just like, why is this happening?
Yeah.
Why me? But now it's not why is it happening? It's what is it teaching me? And it's so important to really remind myself every day, what is this teaching me, for me to stay in a positive light with the whole situation. And at this point right now, I feel so like powerful. It's almost like this happened and it was a push for me to really like keep going deeper on this journey of like gratitude and positivity and self-love and self-awareness. And I'm like grateful now, almost like grateful that it happened, you know?
Yeah. So I love that. And I think it all goes back to the idea, like it's a language thing, because people all the time, they say like, I have to go pick up my kids,
Yes.
or I have to drive to work, or I have to do the dishes. If we can shift that
Yes.
and say, I get to.
Yes.
Like, I get to do the dishes.
I
Like,
get to go to
I
work.
have hands that are able to wash these dishes.
Exactly.
Or I get to go pick up my kid from school. Like, that's amazing that you have a healthy kid.
My kid gets an
that they're at
education.
school, that you have a car to
Yes.
go drive and pick them up.
Exactly.
So having that perspective, I think, is key. For me personally, like, I think my first one was maybe 6 years ago. I had this really scary thing happen with my GI. And I had surgery on my intestines when I was like a baby, like a year old.
Oh, wow.
And there's still some scar tissue.
Oh my gosh.
So I had got back from a long trip, and I ate a huge meal when I got back home. My mom made me like eggs, turkey bacon, like avocado, the whole nine. And I just chowed it down. And then I went to bed, like I just passed out right after. And I woke up with the worst stomach pain, like excruciating. And I was in the ER, like I had tubes in my nose because I couldn't take down any food. And that whole experience, it happened actually 2 more times after that. Those really magnified, like, oh shit, like life is fragile.
Yes.
Like, because
Oh
I've
my
always looked at
gosh.
myself like I'm the epitome of health. You know, like I'm working out every day. I'm watching what I eat. I'm getting outside. I'm connecting with people. And like, if this shit could happen to me at age 20, 21, like, wow, I need to really just, again, like you said, magnify my gratitude and also just be more conscious of like everything I'm doing.
Yes.
And having intention behind it. So I appreciate you sharing that. And then for someone who's really looking to get started, because it's such a daunting thing and there's so much information.
So much.
Yeah, like
There's so much.
Whether it's social media, internet, like articles, everyone is saying like, "Hey, do keto. No, be vegan."
Yes.
It's like, fuck, man. Like what do I do?
I
and I feel like that intimidates people
It
because they're like,
does.
I don't know where to start.
Yeah.
So, I guess maybe 1, 2, 3 things that you would suggest for people who are literally like just getting started, or maybe they had a fitness and health regimen and they fell off for a couple years. Like, what would be some things you tell them?
So I love how you mentioned that there's so many things out there, because that's something I've been talking about with people too. One person will say, this is really good for you. And then another person will say, it's horrible for you. Like,
Right.
Don't do this, eat that, don't eat this. And I think it's extremely overwhelming. And I think that the most important thing for people who are looking to start on any type of wellness, whether it be what they're eating or where they want to work out, is to start with one step. Because when you want to try to bring all this stuff into your life that's already so chaotic, you have so many other things you just have to like focus on. If you put too much on your plate, you're setting yourself up to fail. And I think
Right.
it's really important to take one step, whether it be waking up and meditating for 10 minutes in the morning. Just taking 10 minutes in the morning, you're going to see that that's going to make you feel better, and you're going to want to do something else that's going to make you feel better, whether it be like having a juice after that or taking your mushrooms in the morning. It's just like one step is
Not
going to...
psychedelic mushrooms, by the way.
I meant like,
We're
yeah.
talking about nutritional mushrooms, just for the record.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with the other ones either, by the way. All right, sorry, continue.
Yeah, and it's like, I think when you take one step, so let's say you want to start on a fitness journey. When you start working out and you're seeing results in your body and in your health, you automatically are going to want to change up your diet. You're not going to want to go work out, feel great, sweat, and then go eat something that's not good. That's just how it works. Like,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like a domino effect for health. And just It's also important, I think, to really keep your mind open to whatever works for you. And it's really important to listen to your own body, because what works for me might not work for you. See, I'm like mostly plant-based, you know what I'm saying? But I don't tell people to be plant-based, you know, because that might not work for everybody. And I think it's important to keep your mind open and to listen to your body, because the only person that's going to know what really works for you is you. Like, no matter what people say or evidence that there is, everybody's body is different, and what we need is different, and what we need changes also. So I think it's important to not label yourself under anything, and to also really be in touch with the changes that you experience, whether they be emotional or physical.
Wow. I could take this a lot of directions. So one of the things we talk about a lot on the show that I'm always advocating is the idea that small changes equal big changes.
Yes.
Just like you said, that domino effect, and it all starts in the morning.
Yes.
Like there's a famous book that says like, make your bed.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know the whole title, but it's basically that preface, like start off by accomplishing a task.
One task.
Regardless of how small it is, simply like making your bed and let that momentum build. So I think that's really important that you mentioned that. And in regards to continuing through that whole momentum and that theme, like I see you, and I've told you this, like I see you as someone who would be such an awesome coach, because the energy that you give just being around you is unreal. And I feel like people, they get so in their own head, like you said, like they're trying to do and mimic other people's beliefs, and they don't necessarily have that awareness of their own body. So are there like, I don't know, maybe an exercise or a writing exercise, something to build awareness? Like, should people simply try something out, see how it works? What do you think that should look like practically speaking?
So I love how you mentioned the morning, because I'm a morning warrior. I actually.
What time do you wake up at?
So I don't have like an alarm set, but I wake up I'm always looking at the clock at 7 in the morning. Okay. Like whether it be like, okay, I'm going to sleep a little more because I worked really late, or I'm ready to go. 7 is like, I'm up. As soon as the sun is up, I am up. It's kind of like an internal clock.
And no alarm clock for you?
No, never.
Really?
I don't like alarms. I'm like, yeah, no, normally not. Unless I have to be somewhere at a certain time. Yeah. Really early, like if I'm trying to watch the sun rise, I'll put an alarm like at 5:30, you know. But I definitely always make my bed. I love how you mentioned that, and it's kind of like a movement that I've been trying to start, like just through my Instagram. People will send me pictures of their bed made in the morning and be like, I didn't want to do it, and then I heard your message in my head, and I was like, make your damn bed. Just make it. Yeah. It's gonna feel so good to be in your room and see that organized. It just kind of like makes you want to organize other things and accomplish other things. It's so silly. It sounds so silly, but it's almost like subconscious, almost. I think it was not a book, but like some army general talked about how like making your bed is literally a sign, like just an expression of your ability to be organized and to accomplish things, and just to like start off on a good foot, and I think that if people really want to kind of like add these good habits into their life, it's really important to start in the morning, number one. I know it's a little difficult because people work really early and stuff, but it's kind of like, I think one of these famous monks, I'm not sure who it was.
Drop some monk quotes on us.
He says how like, if you don't have 10 minutes to meditate, that means you need to meditate for 20 minutes. So if you don't even have 10 minutes to yourself in a day, you need to make 20 minutes. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Kind of like everybody has the time. People always tell me like, I don't have time. Like I want to go do this, but I don't have time. And I'm like, that's an excuse. Like you're not trying to make time. Biggest excuse. Because I'm sure you've spent at least 10 minutes on your phone today, like at least, or doing something that you could have replaced with something that's going to benefit you or make you grow as a person. But I think people also don't know what to do, like what little things to do to make like these like positive changes. So I was going to say, I think journaling is an amazing tool to really like help you get into positive habits and do things that'll help you grow. Writing stuff down. People are so used to typing and like texting and like writing things on their notes, but actually writing with a pen and paper, it sounds so like ancient, is the best. It really is the best. And you can't backspace or anything, you know, it's like fresh mind to paper. And I think writing, like when you wake up, writing like a gratitude list is super important. And that kind of like spirals off into like, I'm grateful that I can move. Oh, I want to actually learn how to do this. Like so it's like writing down what you're grateful for, right? And then writing down things that you like about yourself.
Ooh,
it's writing things like, oh, I really like that I can move this way. I like that I take time to do this in the morning. And it's kind of like whatever you like about yourself, you kind of like can spiral off like a web, right? And it's like, I like this about myself, but I want to improve this about myself, or I want to achieve this in this certain amount of time. People need to make goals for themselves. I feel like people are like, oh, I can't, or like, I don't have time, but it's like, make a timeline, like put it on paper, like make a goal, like actually work towards something, like write it down, organize it. Organizing what you want is super important. People just kind of like have all these crazy thoughts and like, you know, like they don't organize. They're scattered. Yeah, they're scattered and they like have all these desires and like want to be like this person and that person, but they don't like make like, I don't know, you know,
So, I lost my train of thought.
That's okay.
I lost my train of thought. No, but everything you're saying is super valid. Oh, the thing I was going to mention is I love the idea of writing down things that you like about yourself.
Yes.
Because we're so quick to focus on the things that we don't like.
Or like, I need to do. And it's like,
just be.
Yeah.
Just experience what you're experiencing right now. And I just did this gratitude training, which was super transformational. And one of the exercises we did, one of the homework assignments was we wrote a letter to ourselves.
Oh, nice.
So I wrote like, Dear Jeremy. And we had a format that we used, and it was all the positive things. Like, dude, I love the energy you bring to the room. I love that you have a mindset of adding value and giving to the community and connecting and all of these things that I had never really acknowledged myself for. And I hung that shit up in my bathroom. So I literally, like, right after I brushed my teeth, I read that letter to myself. And I like remember how amazing and dope I am. And I feel like if we can all get in that habit of recognizing our superpowers.
Yes.
And that's again, it's one of the things, you know, and I know for me it was a struggle is like, okay, I'm trying to get better and improve at these different areas of my life, but maybe I should really just go all in on my strengths. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the reasons I started this show is like, I know I have a powerful voice. I know I have thoughts and ideas that are valuable. And I want to go all in and share those with as many people as possible. So for you, my superpowers are my ability to connect with people, my ability to use my voice and give other people confidence and give them permission and empower them to really chase after what it is that they want. So if you could summarize, what do you think your one or two biggest superpowers are?
So I feel that our superpowers are very aligned. I know I have a voice. I have a voice that transcends more than just words and speaking. You know, it's kind of like my actions. People see that I put myself out there and try new things, and I don't limit myself to anything. And I think just being inspires other people to just be themselves. And everybody has a superpower. Every single person has a gift. It's just a matter of finding it. And you're not going to find it if you're doing the same things every day. That's why I encourage people to go out of the comfort zone or just talk to different people or go away from like the path you're always on. Just kind of explore a little bit. And I know that whenever I'm around people, it's kind of like I just give them a hug and they're like, wow, your hugs are so amazing. And it's like I literally give energy, like physical energy, you know? And I think it's like I have like this theory, right? I'm always in the sun, right? So I absorb all that beautiful sun, like positive, bright orange amazing energy, and I feel like I give it to people. Like people that never get in the sun or like are never around the beach. Like I literally harness it and give it to people.
The average human spends 93% of their lifetime indoors.
I know, it's so horrible.
Whether it's at work, their house, their car. So fucking, you need to keep on hugging people and radiating that sunshine.
I radiating, and I just give it to people, and I want to. I'm like, come take it. Like I have enough to give to people. Yeah. I think that's my superpower too. I always feel like I'm overflowing. Like I'm just like always working on my own positive gratitude practice that I just want to give it to other people, like give them a boost, because I know it's hard I haven't always been like this, like I didn't just pop out like, oh, sunshine and rainbows. Like I struggled and I went through stuff, and then I just kind of like worked at being positive. I worked at being grateful, and I know it's hard to start. It's kind of like, it's just like, it's hard when there's so much heaviness that goes on with life, whether it be like your relationships or your work, or feeling like you're not pursuing what you want, or your family, or whatever it is. And I understand that it's difficult and it doesn't happen overnight. That's what I think people think is going to happen, that it happens overnight, and it doesn't. So
positivity and gratitude are like these beautiful words. They're so like fun to talk about. And I know we're living them. We're living them. But I know for me, like when I am going through a time where I'm like anxious or a little depressed or just like not myself, it's challenging, and I have compassion and empathy for people who experience that on like an extreme level. So it's tough because saying these things is powerful, and oftentimes though I feel like it's hard for people to relate to because they're so stuck in their own shit. And I feel like we're all diamonds, but we're covered up in shit, and it's like we're trying to peel that shit off, and then like more shit gets piled off. Like that golden retriever just came and took a dump on my diamond, and like, you know what I'm saying?
I understand.
And it's tough. Like when you are feeling kind of in that maybe not Maria typical state, like you're feeling a little down, you're just not feeling yourself. Is there one thing that you do that you've seen a lot of positive benefit in terms of like snapping out of it, getting your mind right, getting back to your heart center?
So believe it or not, I have these days, these like weeks, these months. It happens. I'll ride a high wave and then I'll hit a really low one. And I try to tell people these waves in life are never going to stop. So it's not about avoiding them. It's about learning to ride them. Like they're gonna keep coming. They're not going to stop. It's like you have to learn how to ride them, and the more you learn, the easier they become. The easier it becomes to like get through those humps. And I think that when I'm really feeling down, I allow myself to feel down. It's okay. People think that, I feel like people think that like, why am I feeling like this? But it's just normal. It's normal to ride the waves. They're going to keep coming. Like I said, I think that the number one thing that I try to do when I'm feeling down is to really try to do something that I know is going to make me happy. And it could be something super simple, like watching something funny on TV, or
wait, hold on. We can't let that go. What's like the go-to? If you need a quick laugh, what do you turn to?
So honestly, there's this show on Netflix called Grace and Frankie. Have you heard of it?
No.
It's so funny. It's about these two couples that have been married for like 30 years. And the two husbands end up leaving their wives for each other.
What?
Yeah.
No.
And it's like sadistic, right? Because it's like, what? This is so fucked up. But it's so funny because it shows how like these women end up overcoming it and kind of like trying to like figure it out.
Get together too or not?
No, but they're like the opposite. These women, one of them is like a hippie and like is like with her sage, and she's like meditating, and the other woman is like rich and pretentious. So it's really funny, and that kind of stuff gets you out of your own head and your own life, whether it be just like for a minute. It's okay. Like, like I don't really advocate watching TV too much. I don't, but like I was saying, whenever I'm feeling down, I try to just do anything that I know is going to bring me joy, even if it's a quick burst, even if it's just for a second, because that's what it's about, right? It's about moving moment to moment and trying to not get through it, but like, learn as each moment comes. And I think it's really important, again, to be patient with yourself when you're feeling down or you're not feeling like yourself. And when I'm really feeling like out of it and I don't want to go like skate or go work out or go do yoga, I kind of have to like not force myself, but I have to give myself an extra push, because on the days where I'm like super vibrant and super excited, I'm like eager to go do these things.
Right.
And when I'm feeling down, I don't want to do anything. I just want to like sulk in my sadness. But I think you kind of have to be like that voice in the back of your head that's like, do it. You know, you're going to feel better after. And no one is going to give you that voice. You have to be the one.
Yeah.
And even if you go through the whole workout and you're dragging the whole time, or you're trying to make a meal and you're just not feeling it, you got to push through anyway, because sitting there and being in your thoughts is not going to make anything better. You know, like you have to express it. You have to like move that energy, because when you're feeling down, that's literally what it is trapped energy that you have to like express, whether it be through movement or through writing or through talking to someone. I think it's important to explore all those options too when you're feeling kind of down, because everything is like, every time you experience a bump in the road, it's different. And I think what works for you in like one moment is not going to work in another. So it's important to really like try your options when you're feeling bummed, and like exploring what makes other people feel better when they're feeling down. And I think it's important to also talk to people, because some people feel alone when they're sad or down, and you're not alone. Everybody goes through this. Like everybody goes through this. And it's just like a lot of people don't talk about it, because it's almost like people feel like no one wants to hear it. People want to hear positive things, and like
they almost feel like, I know this is the case for me. Like if I'm feeling that type of way, sorry to cut you off, but if I'm feeling that type of way, I almost feel like guilty. Yeah. Like I'm burdening this person with my problems. And it's one of the things that I become aware of, like this idea of guilt always creeps in my head. And it's about understanding like that's just a good friend or a good relationship. Like you guys should be able to be transparent, honest, authentic with each other, and be able to lean on each other when those times are challenging.
Yes.
Because like you said, you're not alone. I think that those 3 words are so powerful. Like for people to understand, like their voice matters. They're worthy of love. Like they deserve all of these things that the next person has. And I think it's also something that you kind of mentioned, like laughter. Laughter is the universal language of joy. Like, I don't care what part of the world you go to, you see somebody laughing
and you're
like, okay, like that person's happy. They're enjoying their current moment right now. So laughter, and then also these things I call free drugs. And it's funny, Santiago, who's sitting right here, we just filmed like a video that was talking about that. Like, okay, it's so easy to take your statins for cholesterol, to take your Prozac for depression. But what about like free drugs, like nature, or relationships, or movement, or water, like all of these things we have access to, and the best part about it is they're fucking free. You know what I'm saying? Like free drugs are so dope, and I'm not against other drugs there's a time and place, but like guys, especially it's the summertime. Everywhere has good climate right now. There's sunshine. There's no excuse not to get outside.
Exactly. Even
if it's just a 10-minute walk, because you're going to see creativity go through the roof.
Yes.
You're going to be a happier human.
Yes.
And I wanted to actually segue into something for me that's kind of been on my mind recently. And I think it's like a super relevant topic. This idea of like, you know, a couple years ago, the Me Too movement started with women. And I feel like it really kickstarted this idea of women's empowerment. And all of a sudden I see a lot of my friends, they're in like moon circles in different arenas that are exclusive to women, like a safe space. And I love this idea. And what I've realized is that there's so many women who have experienced a lot of trauma and pain from men, whether it's their dad, whether it's an abusive relationship, or whatever the reason or whatever that original thing is. And for me, I'm trying to bring awareness to this, like amongst men, because I feel like one of the biggest things is there's this lack of vulnerability with men. And like we're wearing these masks like, dude, I'm so fucking tough. Like I don't show emotion and all this shit. And I feel like that's a big reason why women have trust issues with men, why there's this lack of safety. And for me, I'm like, I want to change this.
Yeah.
And I know there's all these women's groups and women's circles, and I love those, and I know there's a place for those. I'm just wondering, like, your opinion, what can men do to help those women? And then what can those women do to kind of like help the men use their voice in a positive way and maybe like open those doors up eventually?
So I think
loaded question. I
yeah,
know.
it's super loaded, but wow, I'm so happy you like brought this up because man, so a lot of women, I feel like most women have experienced some kind of trauma or some kind of negative experience on a deep level with another man, whether it be, like you said, their father or brother, uncle, boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, friend. And I think that it's such a hard subject to talk about because I feel like a lot of men also feel some type of way towards women, right? Because I know there are good men out there that are open and they want to communicate and they're willing, but then there's women who are shielded. They're just shielded. They're just like their heart is just like covered with all this like trauma that these men kind of get hopeless. It's like a weird cycle, right? Yeah. But I think personally, I always approach any kind of relationship with a man in an open way, but I'm also very guarded because of the same reasons. I don't want to be mistaken for being like too nice, or which is so silly. Like, what is too nice? That shouldn't even be a thing, right? But I think men really need to show up in a way to communicate. I think communication is number one, but like real communication. I'm talking about like really saying how you feel and being honest with how you feel. Don't be like having an agenda in your head and then showing up in a different way. And I think a lot of men do that subconsciously, you know, like it's important to ask yourself, like, why am I doing things? Like, what's my intention? I think when you have an intention, like an honest intention, you can't really go wrong. But a lot of people don't have honest intentions because they're guarding themselves. And I think that the more we stay open, like we were talking about before, the more open you stay, the more you're going to attract other people who are open, you know? And it's really, for me as a person, I'm very open. I'm very open with people, men, women, like whoever. But it's also important to be very receptive to who you're open with, because just because you're very open doesn't mean they're going to open up the way you are. And I think there's a boundary that you have to set when you're, you know, interacting with people that you don't really know. Like so me and my friend were talking the other day, and it's like, whenever you're trying to like build a relationship with someone or you're trying to connect with someone, if you ever have some kind of doubt, any kind of doubt about anything, about, you know, like whatever, a doubt, immediately you have to talk about it. Like, you know, like express it, just communicate. People don't communicate, and then that builds up, and that's what boils
over, resentment builds,
exactly.
And then you just fucking explode and chaos ensues.
And then that creates people who are all full of trauma, you know? And once you open up and communicate, if this person doesn't meet you there, then that's when you know you got to set a boundary, you know, like you got to stop. Because this is this quote that I literally live by, and it's like, people will only like meet you as deeply as they've met themselves. So it's like people are only going to open up to you as much as they've opened up to themselves. And that's not even, it's not about you. If someone doesn't meet you there, it's not about you, it's about them. And it's like, I think people really need to start thinking about that. You know, like people have all these walls up, but it's like, no one's going to break them down. You have to break them down. You have to show up for other people the way you want people to show up for you.
I love that.
Yeah.
Everything you're saying is so spot on.
Yes. And like the whole thing with men is so tricky. It's just, I feel like we live in a society where people don't communicate, especially now with the phones and with like everything being behind a screen. People don't really talk to each other. People don't really talk about how they feel, and they get all mixed in translation because there's no tone through text. There's no tone through words on a screen. And I think people just need to talk more, like communicate more, communicate what you want. People are not going to read your mind. People don't know what you want until you talk about it, you know? And if it's like, okay, that's what you want, that's not really what I want, then it's like, okay, there's nothing wrong with that. It's okay. Like, we don't need to be resentful when we don't meet each other the way we're supposed to, but it's not because we didn't talk about it or because we weren't honest, you know? And I think, yeah, go for it. No, you go.
So I'm just trying to tie it back. So I guess the main piece of advice you'd give to men out there is just to be better communicators in terms of actually listening to listen and not just listening to give a response. And I feel like I've definitely been guilty of that in the past. And it's one of the things I'm being super intentional and mindful about is all of my conversations. I'm trying to give all of my 100% energy to that person, to that thing. And one of the things that we also had to do through this gratitude transformational training was there's a lot of like dyads like this, except we're sitting very close to each other and we're literally just like staring into each other's eyes.
That's intense.
and there's different things that we're visualizing, different things that we're saying while we're doing this. And I was thinking in like my most recent relationships, and I'm like, I feel like I never really looked her in the eyes with that type of focus. And I felt super shitty about it. I was like, fuck, man. Like, I'm doing it with this stranger in this group, and I never gave this human being the time of day. And here I was saying that I loved her and I cared about her. And I felt that like during that exercise. And I was thinking about all the people in my life who I haven't done this with. And it really struck with me. So I think what you're saying is really important. And also, like, go with your gut. A lot of times you can get, we're so instinctive as humans. We usually know, like, if this person's intentions are good, if their vibes are good. And if someone's rubbing you the wrong way, like you said, like, bring it to their attention.
Exactly.
Call them out on their bullshit.
Exactly.
And I think that's huge in really building trusting, worthwhile, long-term relationships.
Exactly. I think people need to be called out on their bullshit. Like you just said that, because a lot of people go through their lives just kind of not understanding that what they're doing is really like affecting people. And they're not ever called out on their shit, because these people that get affected feel like, you know, like, I don't know. From my own personal experience, it's like somebody does something to me that is fucked up, or I come to them super nice, super open, super giving, and they kind of take it for granted, or they take advantage of me. And it's like, damn, these people need to be called out, because I'm probably not the first person they've done this to, you know, but nobody ever says anything because it makes them feel small. It makes me feel like, well, why would you do this when I showed up the best way I know how? But it's like these people need to get snapped out of like those being like that, because people are just used to being like that, and it's because they don't want to be vulnerable, or you know what I'm saying? Like,
we're conditioned. We're all conditioned in our habits, good and bad.
Exactly.
And it's crazy, like you were saying, the impact that these actions have on other people. I know for me, I have this weird tendency where I'd show up. Like, I put myself in position. I think Miami did this to me. I'm going to blame it on Miami. I'm going to take the accountability off myself. Like, everyone is just casually 15 or 30 minutes late here.
Oh, so, yeah.
And I realized I was like, sometimes whether it's meeting with a friend or a client, and I'd show up like a couple minutes late. And I could have been there early, but I chose to fill a couple minutes doing some tedious task. And I was thinking, like, wow, what does that project to them? Like, if I'm showing up late, it's basically giving them the message, like, their time's not valuable, important. They're unworthy, like all of these things. So I think in general, and we've talked a lot about it, is we just need to be more thoughtful with the way we are, and really bringing awareness to our own habits and understanding where they stem from, because the more self-awareness we build, the more power and control we have over making positive changes and improvements, whether it's in health and wellness or relationships or our career. And yo, let me just say, this has been so much fun shooting the shit with you.
I know. I'm having a blast.
But there are some questions I want to finish off with.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I know you have shit to do.
Oh my God.
And we need to eventually let you go. So I want to know, rapid fire. Okay, so I'm going to give you like 10 seconds max to answer these next 5 questions.
Okay, for sure.
All right. Number 1, what's your favorite emoji?
Oh my God. Okay, so my favorite, I think I have 2. The first one is the sun one, just like the vibrant sun one with his face and he's like all cute. And then the second one is the emoji with the star eyes, where it's like stoked.
Yes,
I always use that one because I'm just like stoked on life, stoked about everything, you know?
Love that. What's your biggest pet peeve?
Man, I think disorganization is my biggest pet peeve. When I see something that's a mess, I just feel like I need to fix it.
Did this podcast studio live up to your expectations?
Of course.
It's pretty legit, right?
Yes.
What is one quote or mantra that you live by?
I honestly think,
5. 4.
I'm thinking. Okay, so I like what I said earlier. People will only meet you as deeply as they've met themselves. That's something that it makes me understand that nothing that people do is personal. It's not about me. So I don't try to take anything that happens around me personal, because everything that people do is about what's going on within them.
Ooh, and we're all a mirror of each other.
Exactly.
You're a mirror of me. Book or movie that has impacted you the most?
Book, The Alchemist. Have you read it by Paulo Coelho?
I've had the book for over 2 years.
You gotta read it, man. And it's like a self-help book, but in a story. So it's like something that you don't want to put down. It's not like let's talk about how we can better ourselves. It's a story, so it's really easy to relate to, and it's beautiful. It's such a good book.
I'm gonna start. That'll be my airplane.
Oh my God, yeah! Please do it. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful book.
And I'm going to finish off the rapid fire. What are you most grateful for right now?
Right now, I am most grateful for being alive, living, and
awesome.
being able to do this, being able to talk to you, being able to do things I enjoy, not having to live in a place where I'm like experiencing war or survival. I get to have fun. I get to choose what I want to do every day. Freedom. Yes.
Yeah. That's a great place to finish off. I want to give you the opportunity to I want all the listeners to be able to dive deeper with you, because your message is powerful and your voice is too, and I want them to be exposed to that type of environment as much as possible. So where can people connect with you?
So I think my biggest source for connecting with me would definitely be my Instagram.
Okay. What is it?
It's Maria.moves. So Maria, my first name, dot like a period, and then moves like movement.
MOVES.
Yes.
Yeah, her page is super dope. Definitely read the captions, because you might go down a rabbit hole like an Instagram binge of Maria's page. She has a lot of thoughtful things to say and really dope images and videos. So you have a better understanding of the dope shit she is doing. And we have some movement to do. Maria's about to teach me how to hula hoop. And check out the video on YouTube, on Instagram. Guys, thank you so much for taking the time to listen through. We are so grateful for you and this conscious community that we are cultivating. I can't wait for your feedback. And you know what time it is. It's time to get out of your comfort zone and stand up to sitting.